The German bus manufacturing company Neoplan is one of the few that has not only followed the trends in its segment, but has also created them. Virtually all of the new bus models created at its facilities have become benchmarks of bold, forward-thinking style and design. A clear example is the famous Cityliner, first introduced in 1971 and still part of the Neoplan model line. It's true that, in its attempt to anticipate the future and leave the competition far behind, Neoplan sometimes went too far, introducing products with truly astonishing sizes and specifications. Today we'll talk about two of those vehicles, the JumboCruiser and the Megaliner, which left a very brilliant mark on the world history of bus manufacturing. Welcome to a new video. If you like this type of content, subscribe to our channel. It's free. Now, let's begin. The Neoplan JumboCruiser. The articulated giant, the JumboCruiser model, which for a long time held the title of the world's largest bus, was launched for one reason only. In 1974, Gottlob Auerter, owner of Neoplan, decided that his company's lineup should include something no one else had. A gigantic tour bus, a true attraction, the largest in existence. And just a year later, in 1975, such a vehicle was unveiled at the Frankfurt Motor Show under the name JumboCruiser. It wasn't just a double-decker bus, but a fully functional, articulated bus, already purchased by the Globus Reisen travel agency even before the show opened. The JumboCruiser was based on the three-axle chassis of the Cityliner model. Its articulated design meant that access to the rear compartment was only possible via the second floor, as the power unit, a 440 horsepower Mercedes V12 engine, was located immediately behind the third axle. The engine was connected to a 5-speed Allison automatic transmission, transmitting all the torque to the second axle. One of the JumboCruiser's features was its self-regulating pneumatic suspension on all four axles, which automatically redistributed pressure during maneuvers, allowing the bus to remain upright. In the mid-1970s, the Neoplan JumboCruiser had colossal dimensions, 4 meters high, 2.5 meters wide, and 18 meters long, with a total weight of 28 tons. The vehicle could carry 102 people, including the 3 crew members, a tour guide and 2 drivers. A bunk bed was located in the rear of the bus for the latter to rest. In addition, there was a kitchen, a changing room, a toilet, and a luggage compartment with a volume of 10 cubic meters. Certainly, the rear compartment configuration could be adapted at the customer's request. In theory, by eliminating all service spaces, the JumboCruiser's saloon could have accommodated up to 144 passenger seats. Modern history knows examples of even longer and more spacious buses, such as the 30-meter Ultra Grand, designed to carry 256 passengers. But in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the JumboCruiser's dimensions were too large for the model to be launched into mass production. Between 1975 and 1986, only 10 units of this enormous accordion were built. An additional unit was manufactured in 1992. Obviously, this was not the result Gottlob Auerter had hoped for when he conceived the entire project. Neoplan Megaliner. Driving legislative change? And although Gottlob himself was already too old by the early 1990s and had ceased to participate in strategic decisions, the Neoplan company continued to look for ways to increase the passenger capacity of its tour buses, literally pushing the boundaries of what was possible. And these boundaries in Europe were determined by law, which prohibited the use of non-articulated buses longer than 12 meters on roads. However, in 1990, Neoplan launched a new double-decker bus model called the Megaliner. It had 4 axles and was 15 meters long, and was produced for the next 10 years in much larger runs than the JumboCruiser. Before the Megaliner's appearance, Neoplan was already producing 15-meter, 4-axle versions of the Cityliner models, which were sold in Chile, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and a few other countries with less stringent bus length restrictions, where they enjoyed fairly stable demand. However, for something like this to appear on European roads, changes in legislation were necessary. And the new Megaliner became the main instrument for lobbying and achieving these changes. Using its connections in the German government, Neoplan management managed to obtain limited testing permits for the 15-meter Megaliners on some European roads, with the aim of demonstrating that they pose no danger to other road users or the road surface. At the same time, the company offered some European bus operators very favorable terms for the purchase of its new vehicles, which actually had several advantages over their 12-meter counterparts. The main one being, of course, passenger capacity. measuring 15 meters long, 4 meters high, and 5 meters wide. The Megaliner could accommodate up to 50 people on the second deck and the same number on the first. Of course, the Megaliner was equipped with everything necessary for economy class options: a kitchen, bathroom, televisions, etc. To improve comfort, the vehicle featured thicker windows that reduced cabin noise by up to 30 dBm. The standard engine was a 15-liter Mercedes M442 V8 diesel with 525 horsepower and 1932 Nm of torque. Engines produced by Scania and MAN were available as options. In either case, the bus was equipped with an 8-speed ZF manual transmission, as well as anti-lock braking system, ABS, traction control, ACER, and air suspension. The 600-liter fuel tank allowed for a range of up to 1,500 kilometers on a single fill-up. It's important to note that the Megaliner's 4 axles were steered, giving it a turning circle of 23.9 meters and allowing it, albeit with difficulty, to navigate the curves of Europe's not always wide roads. The modern 3-axle Neoplan Skyliner, by the way, is 14 meters long and has a turning circle only 60 cm smaller than that of the 4-axle Megaliner. The promotional strategy chosen by Neoplan worked perfectly. Having proven capable of carrying up to 90 passengers on a single bus, operators began lobbying European governments to allow the widespread use of 15-meter tour buses. And by 1993, these requirements were adjusted, albeit with significant restrictions. The bus had to have 4 axles, and the Megaliner, as you can see, was the only bus that met all these requirements. Immediately after the passage of the new law, Neoplan introduced 2 new versions of the Megaliner: the Megaspace model, where the entire lower level was dedicated to a sort of lounge with a bar and restaurant, and the Urban Mega Shuttle model, which featured 55 seats upstairs, 45 downstairs, and another 80 standing spaces. However, neither of these modifications was particularly popular. Only 14 Mega Shuttles were known to have been sold. Standard versions of Megaliners began to enjoy fairly constant demand, not only in Europe, but also in other countries, including Japan, where their maximum height, due to current laws, was limited to 3.79 meters. Unfortunately, the triumph of these monumental machines didn't last long. With the arrival of the 21st century, the European Union began preparing new laws that would allow the use of 3-axle, 14-meter-long buses on the roads. As soon as this information began to spread among transporters, demand for 4-axle Megaliners began to fall. After all, maintenance of these vehicles, which remember had 4 steered axles, was much more difficult and expensive than that of conventional 3-axle buses. In 2000, Neoplan stopped accepting orders for Megaliners, and a year later the company became part of the MAN Group. Today, Neoplan offers 4 models of tour buses, the largest of which is a 14-meter Skyliner Express, capable of carrying up to 96 people. We've reached the end of this video. Comment in the comments, like the video, subscribe, and tap the bell to enjoy future videos like this one. See you next time.